Welcome to Cholangio Heroes, a video podcast produced by the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation. I'm Jennifer Weaver, and I will be the host of this episode. Joining me is Sean Patrick, who is a musician and probably a lot more than that. In fact, I'm going to actually have him tell you about his background, and then we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, so my name is Sean Patrick. I'm from New Jersey, the Jersey Shore. I am a musician. I've been doing music since I was in, middle school, playing in bands and stuff like that. And it's just a passion that I've been able to do my entire life. And I was also, I still am, working for Vans, the sneaker company. I've been a retail manager with them for over 9 years, in Edison and now in American Dream up in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's like the third biggest mall or something like that in America. So I do that as well. So 2 full-time jobs, traveling up and down the turnpike and just doing what I love doing.
Well, I actually got acquainted with you just following you on Instagram because you do a lot of videos, particularly about cholangiocarcinoma. So because of that, could you share with us just a little bit of information of what your connection is to the disease?
Yeah. So back when I graduated in high school, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And I had that for quite some time. I'm 40 now. And in that process, we also learned that I had PSC, which is called primary sclerosing cholangitis. And when I had gotten that, doing the research, you realize at some point, no matter, how the disease progresses, you need a liver transplant. There's no way to survive PSC without it. You just don't know when it's going to happen. And actually, around this time exactly last year, I kind of gave in. My body was kind of kicking my butt, and I was always used to just pushing through, working my jobs, doing what I do, and just kind of ignoring things, just being like, yeah, I never feel good, so it's all right. And but the pain just got super unbearable. Finally went to the hospital, told them my symptoms. They looked at everything. Everything was normal, except my PSC had finally progressed to a point where we knew that the liver transplant was coming up. So from there, I was like, all right, whatever you need to do, let me know. They sent me up to New York Presbyterian, Columbia, which was an amazing hospital. Everybody there's fantastic. And so we were prepping for a liver transplant. I didn't have any cancer. There was nothing going on. And through that process, they did a procedure called an ERCP. Mm-hmm. And when they went in there, they obviously took biopsies and looked at everything. And then one day when I was at work, I got a phone call and the doctor was like, hey, are you sitting down or do you need a break? And I'm like, no, I'm fine, whatever it is. And, it just that deafening, you have cancer. And all of a sudden everything kind of just got really at first I was like, nah, it's fine. I'll keep working. We're good. Don't worry about it. I can handle this. And that definitely didn't work. And, left work right from there and went home to tell my entire family that I had, I had this cancer, the cholangiocarcinoma. And, from there, they just kind of gave me all the information on it and we just had to kind of attack it from there.
And so all of this just happened a year ago?
Yeah. So about a year ago is when we started doing, the procedures for the liver transplant. And in, I guess, November. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the timeline, but yeah, it was around, it's around this time that we did all this stuff. And about a month later, they went in and they found the cancer.
So I assume that you probably thought cholangiocarcinoma, what is that word? What is the first thing that you did upon diagnosis? You mentioned getting your family together, but did you do any research?
I really didn't at first. I mean, my family is super important. So and I worked an hour away from my house. So that was like the first thing on my mind is like, I had to go home, I have to tell my wife, have to tell my parents, tell my sisters. So there was a lot of crying and stuff like that. But then, yeah, that's, just who I am. I want to know everything I can about what's going on. So I started looking it up. Obviously, it was related since I have cholangitis and cholangiocarcinoma, just kind of hearing words. And you're like, okay, makes sense as to where the cancer is because this stuff is kind of not working anyway, right? And cancer tends to attack things that are weak. And so it made sense. I didn't want it. It's not like I was like, oh, cool, that's where it should be. But I kind of just realized like, this is what it is. So do as much research as you can and just start going.
Right. So I can imagine you're overwhelmed, but it sounds like you had great family support. I'm wondering, what was your course of action? Like, what happened after the diagnosis? Did you have to go meet back with the doctors? Like, what was the process after the diagnosis?
Yeah, so when I got the diagnosis, I still hadn't even met with my liver transplant team. And a liver transplant team is about 7 or 8 people. Your surgeons, your financial coordinator, like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to have, because it was still, COVID times, I had to do virtual visits with the entire team a couple weeks later. So that's when we started talking about the cancer, because now, again, it wasn't just liver, it was cancer. So we just asked a ton of questions. Everybody was just phenomenal. And, I got some kind of hard answers, the one surgeon who was just kind of straightforward, and I appreciate that. That's what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of flat out said, this is a tricky cancer. He's like, it was in both valves, but it wasn't metastasized, which was amazing. That was the best part, was that it was caught super early. But he's like, it's almost a 50-50 shot because it's such a tricky cancer to get through. Plus, on top of it, I had the liver transplant. So we were just, they were just, again, it was just straightforward asking questions there. That was the next thing, was just talking to the professionals. And I'm all about, medical science. So every time they'd say something, I'm like, let's start today.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait. So that's where we were.
So I have another question. When you said valves, it was in your valves. Was it inside your liver or outside of your liver?
So it's inside the bile ducts.
It was inside the bile ducts.
Yeah,
okay.
inside both valves. Yeah.
So from that point, was the only solution surgical to do the liver transplant? It sounds like you were going to get a liver transplant anyway, but did you have any other treatment that you had to do?
Well, so that was the tricky part, is that if we didn't get rid of the cancer, I wasn't going to be eligible for a liver transplant. So, so the cancer had to be attacked first. So it changed the entire scope. Like I probably, because I was lucky enough to have a living donor, a friend of mine named Tony from when I went to Rutgers. So we were lined up. We were kind of ready to do it, and then we found out about the cancer. So it was called the Mayo Protocol, and they went to work right away. So the first thing I had to do was radiation. I went through 33 treatments of radiation. My wife and I had to move into Harlem, got an Airbnb because we're an hour away from Presbyterian. So stayed there for about a month, 33 radiation treatments. And then from there, I was supposed to get radioactive seeds planted where the cancer was. So they did those procedures. And because of the PSC, my bile ducts were super strictured. So they weren't able to set in the catheter to put in the seeds. So again, we had to do a plan B, which was more radiation, which was, you're hearing all these things, you're getting a little disappointed. You're like, man, I just want to continue moving forward. I want to keep going back. But my doctors assured me that it wasn't really a plan B. It was just like, if this didn't work, it's the same, result. It's just a different way of going about it. So then I had 3 true beam radiation treatments after that. And then from there, it was chemo. It was about 8 weeks of, I think they called like F5, I think it was. And so I had a port, and that was connected to me, and I would get a bag of chemo from Monday through Friday. So I was attached to it, no showers, really difficult, especially when you're trying to sleep and you got this thing connected to you on your table. And every time the medicine's going through, you're hearing it going, nah, 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 and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So for 8 weeks, every other week, I was wearing this bag on my side with the chemo flowing, and that was it. So about 36 radiation treatments and 8 weeks of chemo. That was the treatment.
How much total time was that? Was it a period of months then?
Yeah, because I got my liver transplant, I believe, June 21st.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, not at all. So June 21st was the liver transplant. So everything before that was the cancer prep. So I guess from about November up until June, we were just going at it, just trying to get rid of it.
Now, there's probably patients watching and listening to this. And what you went through sounds extremely arduous. What kept your spirits up? What kept you positive?
Yeah, I keep telling people, like, my support system has just been absolutely insane. Like, I knew my family was going to be behind me. My parents, my two sisters, my wife, their husbands, my godmother. I mean, I had a team, like a legit team. When we did that interview with all of the members of my liver team, they were all in the living room with me, and they're like, "Oh my God, you have so many people," which was great. And then, being a musician on the Jersey Shore, I've been in the band I'm in now called Lifespeed for 7 years. And we literally, from the north of Jersey all the way down south, we play everywhere. So, I started just kind of, I'm always that person that wants to advocate for other people because I know the dumb mistakes I make, right? I know I pushed myself too far. I know I didn't take care of myself. And then I found myself in this situation. I'm like, I don't want somebody else to be in this situation because I know, if they're like me, they're just going to continue to do it. So I started posting things on Instagram, listening to your body, like, this is what's happening to me. And had maybe I listened a little earlier, we could have done, there's always better ways of doing things. So I just kept posting it, like, this is the process that I'm going through. And I was just getting hundreds and hundreds of people liking and DMing and, reaching out to me and constantly asking me what I could do, what they could do for me, fundraising. And I'm like, I'm good. But that was really it, to be honest. Like, every time I'd get another message or a text message, it was like, just keep going, stay positive. Everybody else is so positive about it. And just trusting my doctors. That was really probably my biggest part. Was I had every ounce of faith in them. Every time they talked to me, it was almost like, this is what we do every day. We're just going to cure cancer, and then we're going to take this liver out, and you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, if you guys are this confident, then I'll put everything in your hands. And that's where we went.
Oh, right on. So at what point did you get connected to the foundation?
Again, just Instagram, just knowing my big push for the past few years was actually the Movember project. So because I had a friend that I lost to suicide, and I would always advocate for that. And they also promote about men's cancer and men's health. So I found them through the internet and stuff like that. So once I came out of it, I was like, well, let's see what foundations are out there for, cholangiocarcinoma. And obviously this was the first one that came up, and, just connected as much as possible. And you guys reached out to me, which was awesome. Cause I don't ever like to just kind of push myself on things like, hey, I have cancer, let me help. But you guys reached out to me, which is great. And, that's just kind of, I looked it up, and you guys seem like you know what you're doing. And, I loved everything that was on the sites, and you guys posting on your Instagram. So I was like, all right, let's, link up.
Oh, right on. I know that after I saw you, I went to your website, and you have a merch page. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked to see that you actually have a link for your supporters to donate to the foundation. And I just thought, here's a guy who just barely got a liver transplant, and he's thinking about others. Yeah. And even in this conversation, your whole purpose is to help others so they can get through something maybe similar to what you went through, and to keep their spirits up. What future plans do you have? Do you have anything else that you would like to do?
Yeah, being a musician is everything I live for. Like, right now, that's the one thing that just destroys me, is that I'm not even close to getting back on a stage. My whole core, my wife told me that I didn't realize I was in surgery for 16 hours. So just coming out of that, my body is just kind of wrecked. Mentally I'm here, and I can walk around and do some simple things, but being a musician is all I really love. So I'm definitely going to be pursuing that a lot more, playing out a lot more once I get out there, doing the merch thing. And as far as, the Vans thing, the thing that that really kept me with the company was they had made me what was called a rookie mentor. So any new store managers that came into the company, we would go away for the week in the middle of the year, and I would just kind of mentor rookies and teach them how to be better leaders and to worry about their own personal brand and how they're seen. And I love that. Like, I feel like I discovered something that I never knew existed out there. So the mentorship, and then I realized I was always doing it with younger kids in the music scene, my nieces and nephews and stuff like that. So, going forward, looking to see how can I mentor more people or help people out if they want it, just because I'm here for that. I think the musicianship really sets that purpose, because I always say when I'm on stage, I'm just trying to make other people happy. Like, I love this stuff and I'll do it by myself. But when I see people having a good time, like, I feel like that's my actual purpose. And the same thing with mentoring, like seeing people grow and get better. That's really what makes me move and want to do stuff. So, the music part and trying to mentor some more people is probably where I'm going from here.
Oh, right on. Well, I'm just going to pitch our Cholangio Connect mentoring program then, because we actually connect patients to other patients to help them. So that's something that we have as a foundation. We have a newly diagnosed program as well. People can find that at cholangiocarcinoma.org. They can also go to cholangiocarconnect.org. I might have done those backward with our banners, but that's okay.
That's all right.
That's okay. I think that it's wonderful that you have this spirit of giving and service to other people. So I'm glad I found you on Instagram, because you're very authentic. And I think you even showed your chest where they did the operation.
Yeah. I was constantly posting those updates, and it's getting better. It's getting better. And again, like, that was the thing that blew me away, is like, when somebody's in distress and they're upset, everybody reaches out. But it's been 8 weeks now, and it's still the same support. Like, keep getting stronger. Can't wait to see you on stage. We're still behind you. Like, nobody has quit on me. And again, that's what keeps pushing me forward.
Oh, awesome. And that's why I wanted you to be on this podcast called Cholangio Heroes, because you are one. You've overcome so much, and yet through all of that adversity, you're thinking of others. And I just think that's a beautiful characteristic that I think is rare. So I appreciate you sharing your time with us today. Anyone else who's interested, you can find Sean Patrick, if you wouldn't mind sharing your Instagram or where people can find you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is www.seanpatricknj.com. And on Instagram, it's Sean Patrick Music. And the clothing company, it's called Bender Season, but you can find that all on there. And I'm actually reproducing. So the cool thing was, my band surprised me when I was in the hospital. They did a show and they made shirts that said Sean Patrick Stronger Than Cancer. And they were all wearing it, and they handed it out to everybody in the crowd. And they took this picture, and it was just like the most overwhelming thing. Like, everything was all for me. So with that, a lot of people were really interested in the shirt. So I'm actually reproducing that shirt now in the right color, because they did pink just because with cancer, it was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
So I've changed it to the Kelly green. So I'm going to be reproducing that shirt and donating proceeds of that to the foundation as well. So you can go to those websites. You can get that shirt, or if you just want to check stuff out, it's there.
Yes, well, I'm definitely into music, so that's why I wanted your website. And I'm sure there are people listening to this and watching it who will also be interested. Anybody else out there listening? We're going to wrap this up with Sean Patrick, who is a cholangiocarcinoma survivor. And you can find more information on our website at cholangiocarcinoma.org. But simpler, you can also find us at curecc.org. That's a little easier to find us at curecc.org. You'll still get us there. Thank you so much for joining us and supplying these words of inspiration that uplift everybody, that it's really needed.
Thank you so much for having me. And I always tell everybody, if you find me on there, DM me. I'm up. Especially, I keep saying I'm still on hospital time. I really feel that way. Like, I'm up all the time and answering DMs and talking to people. So, anybody that's looking for it, reach out. I'm there. No big deal.
Oh, right on. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And I invite you to join us next week for a new episode of Cholangio Heroes.
Thank you.
Thank you.